This is a thriving modern town with cinemas and a wireless station and fine shops and new modern buildings. And you don't have to go far outside the capital to find places where the old ways of life still continue relatively unchanged. And to the naturalist, it's one of the most fascinating places in the world. You might think that there'd be elephants and giraffe and hippopotamus and rhinoceros and antelope and so on, but in fact, there are none of these creatures there. Instead, it has a fauna entirely of its own, creatures that live nowhere else in the world. Inhospitable though it seemed to be, there was nonetheless evidence of animal life. When you look at him, look over here, I don't think you think that he's a monkey, although in fact he has a number of features which are quite monkey-like. He has these two eyes facing forward, which is the hallmark of a monkey. He relies for his defense on his teeth. And from past experience of this chap, I'm not going to put my hand inside because I know he'll give me a very nasty nip. And here is father. He's full grown. I'm very fond of him. He doesn't really have a very hedgehoggy face. Of course, he's mostly nocturnal and only comes out at night. They have the record for the number of babies born at one time. Not this one, but other ones can produce 16 or 18 babies in one go, and the record is 36. They're also remarkable because they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. I had already come to believe that almost everything was strange, weird, or more often than not almost prehistoric, and here was yet another confirmation. This was a splendid creature with flecks of red and a big helmet on his head. His eyeballs are bright rust red. But when one this size walks on you, it can be quite a painful experience. The local people are terrified by these animals, and we actually made use of this because our car didn't have a lock on it. We often had to leave a certain amount of equipment in the car, and I didn't want anyone fiddling with it, so we just used to take this chap out and sit him on top of the equipment, and we were absolutely certain that no one was going to interfere with it. And here's yet another sort. He's got a crest on the back of his head. This one will feed on little lizards. But these things, of course, are perhaps most famous for their ability to change color. Actually, they don't change their color to suit their background so much as to suit their emotion. If you tease one, he turned black with fury. If any animal in the world deserves the much-used expression living fossil, it's surely this. This lad, who had appeared so silently while I was engrossed in searching, was obviously mystified as to why I should be miles from anywhere. I did my best to explain to him in French, big, grand, but my French, I knew, was not very good. But I don't think he'd have understood even a genuine Frenchman. He obviously spoke only his local language. When he left, I was quite sure he hadn't the faintest idea of what I'd been trying to explain, and was probably going back to report that he had met a harmless lunatic. We followed him for an hour or so. Until he came to the banks of a tiny dried-up stream. There, he joined two others. The group was assembling for their afternoon meal. The only call it can produce is a very faint noise, something like a polite sneeze, and it only makes that when it's alarmed. By 4 o'clock, there were 5 of them, and now they began to feed. Their food is almost exclusively vegetable, and they're very particular about what they eat. As a result, it's almost impossible to keep them satisfactorily in captivity, and we therefore made no attempt whatever to try and catch them. We were more than happy simply to sit and watch them as they feasted. After some time, they had eaten their fill, and one by one, They'd prepared to leave, and I thought that this would be the last we should see of them for that day. But I was in for a surprise, for there then followed one of the most delightful hours that I'd ever spent watching a wild animal. These two, a young male and a young female, lingered nearby and began to play. This was certainly not a fight, for neither was biting the other. There's little time for recreation in the savage world of nature. But I had no doubt whatever that this is just what these beautiful, gentle creatures were doing, and they seemed to be enjoying every minute of it. It was simply a friendly wrestling match, interrupted when they stopped to look and see precisely what we were doing. And now, watch the female as she leaves.